Okay, we just got the CPI results. They expected 2.5% CPI, but CPI actually came in a little bit lower. It came in at 2.4%. And as a result of that, what you can see is that the markets are actually starting to celebrate a bit. You got Bitcoin touching that 109,000, almost touching that 110, ETH up at 2814. And Solana, the big news of the day today, actually 166, almost $167. And that is because, ladies and gentlemen, we may have a Solana ETF within the next 3 to 5 weeks, if my calculations are correct. We'll have a Solana ETF. And actually, I don't think it's going to be just a Solana ETF. I think it's going to be an altcoin ETF summer. I think that you heard correctly. I think we're going to have an altcoin ETF summer because once the Solana ETF's approved, I think we're going to get a whole lot of other ETFs. We may even get an XRP ETF for all we know. So today I want to talk about the CPI results, but also want to talk about the altcoin ETF summer that may be upon us and who's going to be the biggest beneficiaries of this altcoin ETF summer. I'm going to talk about the SOL players. I'm going to talk about other tokens that may get ETFs, and I'm going to give you a whole lot of alpha. So if that sounds good to you, you know what to do. Obliterate. Well, first subscribe to the channel, because if you're not subscribed, you're not even in the game. If you're not subscribed, it's like when you play poker and you don't put the ante down. That's if you're not subscribed. If you are subscribed, I need you to obliterate the like button, and let's get the alpha on the road, guys. Two amazing pieces of news today. Two big news items today. Obviously, the CPI numbers are very good. We'll go through the CPI numbers. We'll understand whether this is going to bring Powell or force Powell to reduce rates even further. And then all the talk is around the altcoin ETF summer, because it could happen in summer, because as you know, in the United States now, it is summer, it's June. We could see in the next 3 to 5 months, we could actually get all these ETFs. It's going to be an amazing show today. So listen, let's get the show on the road. You guys will obliterate the like button. I'm going to just spew the alpha. I'm going to talk to you about who's going to be the beneficiaries of the Solana ETF. Whether it's too late to actually invest in them, who's going to be the next ETF afterwards. We may actually get 𝗟𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗛. Is he coming onto the show today, Hardest? He's supposed to be coming on. Maybe 𝗟𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗛 will actually join us here today. Maybe get hold of 𝗍𝗃 and just ask her if she can ping him, and let's see what happens. All right, let's get the show on the road. Let's get everything going. So first of all, as I said, we got the CPI numbers. It was a little bit cooler than expected. We expected 2.5%. In fact, we didn't. We expected 2.4%, and we got 2.4%. But the market expected 2.5%, and they got 2.4%. Core CPI also 0.1% below expectations. The reason I say we expected 2.4% is because we follow Trueflation, just like you should be following Trueflation. And what Trueflation said was, they said, Trueflation May CPI forecast 2.4% year on year. So, and that's exactly what we got. And so now we're getting a, I want to say slight pump in the markets. Bitcoin on that 109, ETH almost at 2,800, Solana at $165. The good thing about this Bitcoin pump that we're actually seeing is that we've now got Bitcoin above 100K for 31 consecutive days. So we're now for 31 consecutive days, Bitcoin has been above 100K and not been below that 100K area. Also, this is the first time that we're having a pump where there's no profit taking. I don't know if you guys have seen this chart, but we're over 100K, we're close to 110K, and no one is taking profits. It's almost like the people that are holding have decided that they're going to hold. So you've got like this perfect market structure. We're above 100K for 31 days. Seems like no one's selling to take profits. At the same time, seems like there's no leverage in the system. I mean, if I just quickly zoom out into the leverage chart, you can see green. Green means there's pretty much no leverage. Some of them are even like almost blue, and blue means that we're getting into negative leverage. And so it's kind of like it's a too good to be true setup at the moment. Anyway, let's go back to inflation numbers just for a second. What does this mean for interest rate cuts? The market's still not pricing in interest rate cuts. And the reason why the market's not pricing in interest rate cuts, or they are, but they're only pricing them in September. It's kind of weird because Powell said he wants inflation to be heading towards 2% before he starts cutting rates. I mean, you can say that inflation is heading towards 2%. It was 5 months ago, it was at 3, then it went to 2.8, then it went to 2.4, then it went to 2.3, then it went to 2.4. So, I mean, a slight uptick, which is probably a little bit of bad news if you want to call it that. But actually, I think we are heading towards 2%. Probably the biggest reason why Powell isn't cutting interest rates at the moment, or why the market isn't pricing in interest rate cuts at the moment, as you can see over here, is because of the tariffs, and because they don't know what the tariffs are going to be, and tariffs might force prices up. I really believe that if Trump just reduced these tariffs or gave clarity about these tariffs, Powell would actually reduce interest rates and we could just get on with the show. So that's what I think is going to happen. So that is the interest rate news. I think that's the big news of the day, but I think there's actually even bigger news today. And you can kind of see that news if you look at the bubbles. Just have a look at the bubbles. You can kind of see that yesterday was very much about ETH, and today it's less about ETH. And actually you can see much more about Solana. You've got 𝗘𝗧𝗛 up 12.97%. I think there were others that were up here. I see 𝗘𝗧𝗛 back up 8%. Very good, very good. There's a whole lot of other tokens that are actually up. And the reason why these tokens are up is because we may actually be getting a Solana ETF way sooner than expected. And the reason why I say that we may be getting the Solana ETF way sooner than expected is because yesterday, one day after the whole 𝗕𝗧𝗃 crypto roundtable, remember that 𝗕𝗃 crypto roundtable where Paul Atkins basically announced that, number one, he showed a very good understanding of DeFi, but he also advocated for DeFi and self-custody and the right of everyone to hold their own currency in their own wallets. Just one day after that, they went and they asked the issuers, the Solana ETF issuers, to update their S1 filings. So they basically, the SEC kind of said, look, inadvertently what the SEC basically said, they said, look, we're going through these, we're about to approve them. We need you just to make some tweaks to your S1 filings. Now, you'll remember that the last time this happened with Bitcoin, I think like 3 to 5 weeks later, the Bitcoin ETFs were approved. And so now speculation is that these ETFs will actually get approved within 3 to 5 weeks. So we're very close to these ETFs approvals. James Seyfert says conversations around the nuances of Solana staking in the ETFs is going to get underway, or is getting underway, between the SEC and the ETF issuers. There's a couple of things to note here. First of all, what the SEC asked them to update specifically was how they were going to treat staking, right? How are you going to treat staking in the ETFs? Which could mean that the Solana ETFs will be the first ETFs of an asset to actually allow staking. And if they're not the first, they could actually allow ETH staking ETFs and Solana staking ETFs at the same time. That's the first thing. The other thing that they spoke about is what they call in-kind redemptions. And for those of you who don't know what that means, it means instead of redeeming your ETF for cash, you can actually redeem them in kind, which means that you actually get the token that's in there. And that, I think, in some countries helps for tax exposure. So that is what they asked them to do. And I mean, all the analysts are now talking about 3 weeks away, 3 to 5 weeks away from a Solana ETF. And I think when we get a Solana ETF, I think it's going to be amazing news for Solana. And the reason why I say that is because 𝗥𝗏𝗃 said, get ready for potential altcoin ETF summer, with Solana likely leading the way. So Solana might actually be the first. Is Eric by any chance online? Okay, so Eric's not online. He may actually come and join us in the show. He said he would. So we could get a whole bunch of ETF summers, a whole bunch of ETFs approved this summer. Now, for Solana, this is impeccable timing, because there was a lot of FUD around Solana. There was a lot of people that had lost hope in Solana. And when you look at the Sol ETH chart, I think you can see the sentiment there. The Sol ETH chart is down 33%, which means that since the 22nd of April, actually Solana ETH has outperformed Sol by 33%. That's like quite a fair amount. And that is because the trenches died, the meme coin mania died. And when that happened, all the attention went to ETH, specifically because of the regulation in the United States and everything that we spoke about yesterday. So now this launch of the Solana ETF may actually be the first staking ETF, and it may actually be launched, say, a week, maybe 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks after the Pump.fund launch. And so you're starting to get a big Sol narrative again, right? So 𝗏𝗏𝗏 broke it down. He said 7 spot staking in kind ETFs, Firedancer with 1 million TPS, Seeker Phone, TouchPay USDC rails, really a whole lot of new narratives for Solana. And maybe this is exactly what Solana needed to kickstart the run against the other tokens. So that is effectively what's going to happen. Okay, so if we do get this ETF, I want to talk about what the impact on Solana on Solana may be. So let's talk about the impact. So remember when we got the Bitcoin ETFs and we got the ETH ETFs, specifically around the Bitcoin ETF, that was the ETF that really started this bull market and started to drive prices up. ETH, slightly less so. I mean, we did get some price action when ETH actually launched, but not as much as we got. In fact, we got a big drop off afterwards. So I want to talk a little bit about this drop off and why I think that Solana actually isn't going to get this drop off. So what actually caused this drop off? What caused this drop off was the GrayScale GBTC and the GrayScale ETH Trust. I don't know how many of you know this, but before there were ETFs, there's this company called GrayScale. And what GrayScale did is GrayScale created these trusts which replicated ETFs. The only thing with the GrayScale trust is you couldn't redeem your shares for cash. You had to sell them on the open market. And sometimes there would be premiums and sometimes there would be discounts. And the thing with these GBTC trusts is, or these trusts, is that they had a massive amount of Bitcoin in these trusts and ETH. And as soon as you opened the withdrawals, and as soon as they became an ETF, and effectively by selling, it would open withdrawals, then there was massive sell pressure onto the market. So I want to show you what that looks like in a spreadsheet. So when the GrayScale ETF, when the GrayScale opened, when the GrayScale ETF opened, there was 619,000 Bitcoin in the GrayScale trust, and there were 2.6 million ETH in the ETH trust, which was 3% of the total supply, and 2.2% of the total supply was actually locked up in these things. Now, with Bitcoin, the total GrayScale outflows has been $25 million. With ETH, the total GrayScale outflows is about $4.3 million. So why am I talking about this? Because this was massive, massive, massive selling pressure from because the trust actually opened. Now, the difference between Bitcoin and ETH and Solana is that in the Solana GrayScale ETF, there's only $86 million under management, right? There's only $86 million. It's $100 million. That's pretty much the same amount that the market could absorb in one day. And so unlike the Bitcoin and the ETH ETFs where there's going to be this ugly grayscale selling, here, you're not going to get grayscale selling anymore. You're basically just going to get whatever money comes in becomes new supply. And then you got to ask yourself a question. Okay, well, how much money do we actually expect to come into these ETFs? So we built a model just to show you guys the number. And if you look at Bitcoin, currently 6% of the total supply is held, which is $44 billion. With ETH, 3% of the total supply is held in these ETFs. And so the question is, how much is going to flow into a SOL ETF? Okay, so we did some charts. We said like if 1% of SOL flow in, it's going to be 800, just $1 billion. And if it gets up to where Bitcoin is, we're going to get to about $5 billion. So this is pretty much how, I think more realistically, we'll probably get somewhere between 2 and 3%, which is an inflow of about between 1.7 and 2.6 billion actually flowing into Solana in the first 6 months. That's pretty much what the expectations are. The expectations are from this ETF. Now, if that is the case, without the outflows that the GrayScale trust had, I think we could be in for quite a big price pump on Solana. And I don't think that and you can see it today in the market. If you look at the market today, I mean, just look at the market. Sol's at 166. You can see it started to tick up. It's starting to tick up quite a bit, specifically relative to ETH, which I think has cooled down a little bit after yesterday. And so we're now in a position where we could be in this ETF summer. And I think what's going to happen here, I mean, I didn't coin the term. Actually, Eric coined the term. There's going to be this whole ETF summer because what you can see here is that there's a whole lot of deadlines. So you've got the Solana ETFs. You've got the Solana ETFs, Bitwise and 21 shares, July 6th. Then you got ETH. You got XRP ETFs. The first deadline is on the 17th of June 2025. Then you got Wisdom Tree, where public review has begun. So there's quite a few ETFs that are actually out there. And I think what's going to happen is the SEC is going to approve all these ETFs very, very, very quickly. And then after that, I think we could get a 𝗬𝗎 ETF because 21 shares recently applied for a 𝗬𝗎 ETF. So we could get a 𝗬𝗎 ETF. Jason Yanovitz from Blockworks, he says, look, he met with a top 5 bank today, and he said they refer to the tokens as the top 4 and then all the others. So the top 4 are Bitcoin, ETH, SOL, and XRP. And then basically you get all the others. So long story short, what are we expecting here? We're expecting a SOL ETF in 3 to 5 weeks. So literally could happen by July. Specifically, we are expecting it in summer. And then we're expecting it to be a staking ETF. And then I think they may add staking to the ETH ETF. So they may actually do this at the same time. And then in summer, we could expect an XRP ETF and maybe a whole lot of other ETFs. So that is effectively what's happening. Now let's talk about which tokens can actually benefit and how you position yourself to actually benefit from these ETFs. And I think the market's pretty much telling you exactly which tokens are going to benefit the most. You can see the one that is benefiting the most, the one that's flying the most is 𝗕𝗃𝗃. What you can see around 𝗕𝗃𝗃 is that, I mean, just look at this token chart. It's like a perfect breakout. You had the high at 435. In fact, was that the cycle high? Yeah, it was. 535 was the cycle high. It went all the way down to $1.44. And now you can see that they've just had a breakout. What is 𝗕𝗃𝗃? 𝗕𝗃𝗃 is the leading staking protocol on ETH, on SOL, but it's a much more advanced protocol than just a staking protocol. It's also an MEV capture protocol, a maximum extractable value or mine extractable value capture protocol. So when you invest in 𝗕𝗃𝗃, you are capturing the MEV of the chain, which is where the value accrual of the chain is actually going to live in the future, right? And then you're also capturing the staking rewards, the staking rewards here. One thing that we should talk about the staking rewards is that I know that to crypto people, when you talk about staking rewards of say 3% on ETH per year, or you're talking about Solana at 7.56% per year, that's not like big rewards or big return in the crypto world. But in the normal world, right? In the normal world, I can tell you that when you go to Wall Street and you say to Wall Street, look, there's this asset. The asset gives you a return of 7.56% per year for just holding it. That becomes a very, very, very attractive thing for Wall Street. And so what I think is going to happen, and it's going to happen for ETH and for SOL, because I think what the market's not really talking about at the moment is, and maybe you can kind of see it in the bubbles here, you can kind of see that it's 𝗕𝗃𝗃, and I think Lido actually went up earlier. So we can just look at Lido, LDO. Okay, Lido was up yesterday, so it's slightly down today. And the reason why that's also going up is because I think once they approve staking for the ETH, for the Solana protocol, they're going to approve staking for the ETH protocol as well, for the ETH ETF as well. And then all the staking protocols, there's going to be a lot more staking because there's going to be more buying of the asset. Therefore, there's going to be more staking of the asset. And therefore, people are going to want to get much more return. So the biggest custodian of that in the Solana ecosystem, as the bubbles are telling you, is going to be 𝗕𝗃𝗃, right? 𝗕𝗃𝗃, biggest staking protocol on SOL. Total value locked, 18 million Solana, 18 million Solana at, I can't even do maths like that. I'm sure Josh can do the maths for us. So that is 𝗕𝗃𝗃. As I said before, it's not only a staking protocol, it's also a way to capture the extractable value on the chain. I mean, I don't want to get too much of a discussion of what MEV is or extractable value, but just let's call that the value that the miners make on the chain. So it's above it's the values that the value that the miners extract for validating transactions on the chain. And also you can see that their chief legal officer of 𝗕𝗃𝗃 Labs, Rebecca Retting, was speaking at the SEC roundtable on the 9th of June. So you can see that like 𝗕𝗃𝗃 is like the one that's the most well positioned. I also know it's one of Multicoin Capital's big holdings. And I think you know that Multicoin Capital are very close to this new administration. And so for me, 𝗕𝗃𝗃 is definitely one that I'm adding. You may say, okay, but it's run today. It could have run today. I mean, it ran from 2 days ago at 196 to 220. I'm talking about a token that could be worth $5 and $6 if the cycle continues and if we actually do get the staking ETF. So for me, 𝗕𝗃𝗃 is one of the big custodians here. Then if you look at DeFi Llama, what you'll notice is that there's other staking protocols. The second one is one called Sanctum, or the token for Sanctum is actually called the Cloud token. Now, this one for me is a little bit more interesting. I'm a big holder of Cloud, just for the record, so everyone knows. I'm a big holder of Cloud, so that you actually know this. the reason why I like it is because it's the second biggest staking protocol. You can see that it has $1.7 billion TVL. And if you look at, just look at the value. So let's quickly just look at the value here. So look at Cloud or Sanctum or whatever you want to. Oh, sorry, I pressed the wrong button there. Let's see if we can get, there we go. So it's up on, so it's got a market cap of 150 million fully diluted valuation. And if you look at 𝗘𝗧𝗛, I think 𝗘𝗧𝗛 is like 1 point something billion. So 𝗘𝗧𝗛 has a fully diluted valuation of 2.2 billion. And so to me, there's something here that doesn't quite add up. Also, what I know about Cloud is that Cloud actually provide the staking infrastructure for both Bybit and Binance, right? So when you stake your SOL on Bybit or Binance, actually you're using Sanctum's or Cloud's infrastructure. And so to me, this is another one of the big custodians, right? So when this 1.4 billion of Binance stake SOL, this actually uses the Cloud infrastructure. So for me, those are the three big beneficiaries. The three big beneficiaries are the protocol and the biggest staking outlets on the protocol, which, as I said to you before, 𝗘𝗧𝗛 and Sanctum or Cloud. There are some other custodians. I mean, probably the lending and borrowing protocol, by virtue of the fact that a lot of people are depositing SOL here. I think the lending and borrowing protocol, which is in Solana's case, Camino. So Camino is like the 𝗕𝗵𝘃𝗀 of Solana. You can see it's got a massive TVL, 2.5 billion TVL. Let's actually see how that compares with 𝗕𝗵𝘃. So they got 2.5 billion TVL. 𝗕𝗵𝘃's got 26 billion. So it's got 1/10 of 𝗕𝗵𝘃's TVL. And what you can see here is that this, I mean, obviously the price today up 12.5%. You can see quite big. This makes you kind of wonder if there was a leak from the SEC the day before when you see like two green candles like that, right? So Camino, this is the lending and borrowing marketplace on Solana. Obviously, they're going to benefit. As Blockworks researchers, despite being the third mover in money markets to list, Camino is now the primary venue for borrowing against a Solana native token. So because you're borrowing against the Solana native token, they've got a whole lot of SOL tokens. And what are they going to do? Well, they're going to plug it in. They're going to do it. Okay, Eric said he's on his way. I don't know if you guys have... Okay, amazing. Okay, so then, so yes, we've got Camino. The other one that is probably worth looking at is Marinade. Marinade is effectively institutional grade staking. Again, this one didn't actually pump today as much as the others that pumped in the last 2 days. Quick summary of what this one actually does. What is Marinade Select? Marinade Select is Solana's institutional grade staking solution that is built for compliance, ready, and transparency. Institutional teams can stake their SOL with hand-picked sets of verified and ethical validators. So really catering to these things. Why is it important? Institutions and treasury managers require higher security. They require institutional grade compliance, and that's pretty much what Marinade actually land up following. So those are the obvious choices for this. There's another one which is not an obvious choice, but it did come up this morning in our research call. I'll play you the little clip from our research call.
From sexes to dexes, right? Because you basically got like on-chain order books. There's this one protocol, used to be called Zeta Markets. I'm not sure if you guys remember Zeta Markets. It was like, wasn't really, they didn't really end up doing much, but they're transitioning to Bullet, which is an L2 club on Solana. And so they're obviously just like leveraging, sort of like they're making an optimistic roll up on Solana.
So that's Alex, he's our researcher, and every morning we have a Frontrunners research call where everyone from Frontrunners basically gathers. He called this one this morning at $100 million market cap. It's now trading at $150 million market cap. I'm sure that this weekend he'll actually do a show about it and why this protocol is actually set to win. So in general, as I say, I think there's a massive narrative that's going to start happening now for these ETFs. The ETFs are inevitably going to get approved. I think the new SEC really want to make a statement, right? And so the new ETFs are going to get approved. The biggest winners are going to be the chains themselves, obviously, and then the staking protocols on the chain, specifically because we think that the staking protocols, that these chains are going to be released with staking protocol. So I made a quick spreadsheet for you guys over here: Jito, Cloud, Camino, Marinade, and then 𝗕𝗟𝗪, the perps DEX. Careful on 𝗕𝗟 because I mean, it's already up 50% since the morning call. I don't know if I want to be buying something 60% after the morning call. All right, so that's the Solana news, and that's the inflation news. A couple of other pieces of news. I mean, I think we all saw that it feels like there was an intervention between Elon and Trump. I don't know if you guys have picked this up, but Elon has now posted an apology. Says, I regret some of my posts about President Trump last week. They went too far. And then Trump also kind of said, he said, when he was asked if he could reconcile with Elon Musk, he said, I guess I could. So that fire has now been put out, I think. And I think what happened here was, I think everybody just calmed everyone down and said, listen, Elon, just go back to business and you don't need this. And Trump will still be your friend and he'll still support you in the background, but just like get out of the way here. And Elon said, okay, cool. And basically they've made peace. And Elon can now go and focus on Tesla and SpaceX and whatever else is important. And as we can see, I mean, we can see that Tesla's stock, I think, actually landed up. Okay, it's up 1% today, $330. Would have been a great buy to buy it in peak FUD. You would have got it $273. You would have got it. Is Eric here? Amazing. So again, I said to you, I think Eric was. I asked Eric to come on the show today because he's the Bloomberg ETF analyst. Let's see if we can get him on. Eric, how are you, my friend?
Oh, hey, good. How are you?
Good. I see you're in Paris. I guess from the beautiful designs on the door behind you, you must be in Paris.
Yes, good guess. I'm at the Louvre, actually. There's a conference here.
Amazing. Eric, I want to talk to you about the news yesterday that the issuers, the Solana ETF issuers, were asked to amend the S1s. How big is that news and how soon do you think we can expect a Solana ETF?
Well, our odds for approval were already at like 80%. But after we heard this, we upped it to 90. The good news is, though, they're asking them they will stake. So that means that they're not only ready to approve, but that they're also willing to approve stake Solana right off the bat. So that's really good news. I'm not sure if there was a 40 Act filing from this company, 𝗙𝗪, and the SEC didn't like it. I won't go into the details, but that filing for the Solana 40 Act fund may have sparked the SEC to want to hurry up the spot ones. I'm not totally sure because we actually thought that we would see the SEC come out with a framework first. The crypto task force has been meeting with people. We thought in 3 weeks they'd give like a whole framework for like what they're going to do, what will be approved, what won't. And that was going to come out in a few weeks. So the idea that all this happens now, it could be because of that 𝗙𝗪 filing, but either way, it's looking like Solana will be next out the door, probably like August, somewhere in there, based on what you need to be approved. I mean, I can't pinpoint an exact date, but we're at 90%, looks good. And I've heard back channel wise that this SEC is just very open-minded, listening to the issuers. They want to, it's like a can-do kind of SEC versus the last one, which was a whole different vibe, which is like guilty until proven innocent. So I don't know. That's pretty much all we know. We'll see what happens.
Let me ask you a question. Do you think that if they approve the Sol staking ETF, do you think that they would approve an ETH staking ETF first at the same time, or Sol first, then ETH?
Great question. I would guess that if you're going to Solana staked ETF out, you'd have to let the ETH one stake also. The Ether ETFs are already on the market. They've just asked if they can add staking. So my guess is they'll approve those around the time they approve the Solana staked. That's my guess. Be weird if they let Solana stake and not ETH. So yeah, like I said, by the end of the summer, it's very possible all of them can stake.
All right, let's talk about.
But the big question is, what percent can they stake? 50, 70, 100? Oh, we don't know yet, because obviously that would make a difference on how much yield you get.
Let's talk about how much inflow can actually flow here, because I think the one difference between these ETFs and the Bitcoin and the ETH ETFs is that Bitcoin and ETH had massive grayscale overhangs, right? For Bitcoin, we had 600,000 Bitcoin for ETH. We had 2.5 million ETH in the GrayScale Trust. Sol only has $100 million in Sol Trust. What do you think like this means for Sol inflows? Do you think we could get a whole lot of net new inflows?
I mean, it can't hurt, right? You got to be in it to win it. So just having an ETF puts you fishing in a big body of water where there's fish. But that doesn't guarantee inflows. Based on my just calculus, we haven't set an exact target, but it'll be smaller than Ether. Couple billion, couple 100 million at first. It's just hard to tell. There's no BlackRock either. They don't have a filing. So Ether had BlackRock just like Bitcoin. BlackRock not there. It's also the third coin from the sun, which is Bitcoin. You know what I mean? Like we have a phrase in the team: the further away you get from BTC, the less assets there will be. And so, look, Bitcoin was the big. You're never going to slow it again.
We're losing Eric.
The whole time, having a bunch of ETFs that are having a bunch of ETFs over time. I think
we lost.
Very good. It will obviously help. You lost me?
Yeah, we lost you. Your internet's been cutting out.
Oh, sorry. Hold on. Let me something.
Okay, let's see if maybe I have one more question. Eric, one more question if you can hear me. What do you think the next ETF is after the Sol ETF? He's gone. We lost him. Damn, that's the one that I actually wanted to know. All right, well, I'll try and get you the information from Eric. Maybe we'll even try and get him back here. The Louvre has bad Wi-Fi. Bobby's right. The Louvre has bad Wi-Fi. I don't know if you guys saw this today. SQD, the token we've been talking about, lots of listings today. Listed on Bybit futures, Binance futures. How are we doing? Let's just quickly go and see what SQD is doing. SQD is at graph competitor. Okay, 26 cents. Very good. Very good. Pumping. Also, let's quickly check in on our Blofin account. So here is our Blofin account. Remember what I did here was I opened up a 9 ETH long position with 5x leverage on Blofin. Here it is. We are now $550 up. We are $550 in profit at the moment. And yeah, we're $550 in profit. Remember I said what I'd do is I'd leave this account running until the 10th of July. And then one lucky winner who opens an account on Blofin using this link over here. You have to use this link over here. Otherwise it doesn't count. I'll show you which one it is. It's this one here. Let me just go into it here. So you use this link over here. You open an account on Blofin. Not only do you get a $15 immediate cash voucher, which is like the biggest no-brainer, but so you see if you click this here, you get an ETH voucher, a $15 voucher that you can open a 20x long leverage on ETH or whatever you want. But you also get a chance to win this, whatever this is going to be. Now, over the course of this course of this month, what we're going to do is we're going to keep increasing this position as the price goes up. So by the end of it, you could actually land up getting quite a big position, Yeah, so if that sounds good to you, what I need to do, just go here and just go and click here and just go and sign up for it today. Wow, SQD, the first crypto treasury company in Germany. Is there a first crypto treasury company in Germany? Wow, okay. Oh, they're starting okay, this is news to me. This is news to me, I'll tell you that much. All right, if we could take one quick look at the markets and see what... Actually, we should probably just go straight to the newsroom because that's where the news always breaks. Let's see what's happening in the news. Odds of a rate coming down to 𝗕𝗎𝗃𝗃. There's no rates. Come on. There's no rates coming up. Trump and Xi to work together to open up China to American trade. That must have come out from the regulations, from the discussions that they had the other day. 𝗵𝗃𝗏 Fed next chair 𝗘𝗧𝗛 that could be wow. Okay, that could be very good. Wow, Paul 𝗘𝗧𝗛 is as the chair. Hold on, that comes from okay. That's a reliable source. That's DB10. All right, guys. Let's quickly just look here. What else is moving? What else is moving today? What's 𝗘𝗧? 𝗘𝗧 is an ETH layer 2, is an ETH layer 1 public blockchain that brings Web3 to the fingertips of hundreds of people across Asia. So it's Asian ETH. It's ETH, but Asian. Polygon is up. The reason why Polygon is up is because they've had like their fair share of problems. But now Sandeep, who was the founder of Polygon, has now stepped up to run the foundation. So that's quite big. Anyway, chaps, I will see you guys all tomorrow. Until then, trade well, my friends.